Hi VC, it's Aaron with Elmer. Today I am joining in on the Cassette thread 2023 started by Jason Skills. Now if you don't know him, Jason is a great guy. He's a DJ, lives up in Canada, great taste in music, great member of the vinyl community and the cassette community, CD community, music community. And his channel is Low Noise with Jason Skills. But before I get into that, I got a VCLT in the mail from my friend Malea. And she's got a new channel. Everyone should check her out. Malea J is her channel. I will link both of those channels down below. And she's awesome. She's been in the VC for a few months now. And we've become friends, you know, through the comments and stuff. And I know what this is. She sent me a record that I commented on. I really liked. She played a couple tracks from it. So she sent it to me. And let's open it up and check it out. So this is a band. I've never actually heard a full album of just the two songs she played on her channel. And yes, here it is. And this is the band called Girl with Sheer Greed. And this is Phil Lewis from LA Guns. This is before LA Guns. And Phil Collin right here, who is in Def Leppard, started with Pyromania and has become their guitarist ever since Pyromania. And so this is their band before they were in those bands. It's an early 80s album. Very cool. I've heard a couple songs off it. This is a gold stamp promo, very cool. And let's check it out. And, oh, that's awesome. Here's the inner sleeve. I'll put it in a polyline, but it's got all the lyrics. That's awesome. Hollywood Tees. I'm trying to see what songs. I can't remember the songs she played, but they were on here. And they were awesome. So this is kind of a glam type band. So the record looks really nice. It's a little dirty, but I'll clean this right up and give it a spin. Awesome. Thank you so much, Malea. This is really cool. I can't wait to play this. So if you get a chance, go check her channel out. She's got a couple hundred subs, so you should give her a sub, get her going here in the vinyl community. And then, oh, cool, there's a promo insert in here. That's cool. I love it when they have these. And Sheer Greed, the first album, so this was their debut album. Phil Lewis on guitar, on the vocals. Guitars by Phil Collin and Jerry Laffey. And Mick Ronson and Ron Wood are the rhythm section. So cool. Thank you very much, Malea. All right, so let's get on to the cassette thread. And I love cassettes. I am, back when I was growing up, when I started getting into music, started buying my own music, I bought records here and there, but I was mainly buying cassettes back then. I always had records, always had a record collection, but my cassettes is where I really got the albums when they first came out, because I could take them with me and play them for my friends or, play them in the car, whatever. So I've always had a bunch of them. I used to have thousands of cassettes. But, I didn't have a lot of money when I was younger, so I kind of used them for currency. Like when there was a concert I'd want to go to, I'd go pawn like 60 of them or 100 or 200, and they'd give you $1 a piece. Sometimes I'd be able to get them back, sometimes I wouldn't, so I lost a bunch over the years. And I'm trying to build it back up. I gotten about, 550 now. I always kept a core of about 250 of ones that I just knew that I could never get rid of. And still got all those, and I've been building and building on it, and very cool. So first off, a tape from 2022. And this is just came out a couple months ago. This is Leather Duchess with Fatal Moon. Love Leather Duchess, their second album. And they're very like a sleaze metal, modern sleaze metal band, kind of like Dangerous Toys. Not a clone of them, but kind of that sound. There's the shell. Haven't opened this because I have it on CD as well. I'm waiting for the vinyl. So I'll have this on all three when the vinyl comes in. Love this album. It was my second favorite album of this year. So there's my 2022 cassette. A punk or new wave tape. Now I got one of each here I'll show. For my punk, I will show the first Clash album. And that's in an old copy of this, OG or whatever. Really just a blank J card. And there's the cassette. And then for my new wave, I will show Devo with New Traditionalists. Awesome album here. And oh, it includes Working in the Coal Mine, which is a 7-inch single in the record. So that's really cool. And here's the J card. Okay, up next, a metal or hard rock tape. Now I'll show one of each. Now to me, those categories is very subjective. Now when I was in the 80s, I called everything from Bon Jovi to Megadeth and Slayer was all metal. Now everyone labels it a lot of it hard rock. So I'm going to show one that's like an actual metal, actual hard rock. My metal one will be a 80s metal band called Sword with Sweet Dreams. This is one of my original tapes I never got rid of. Absolutely love this album. They're a Canadian heavy metal band. Very good. I love this cassette. There's and the J card was printed weird. I always thought that was odd. So there's my heavy metal one. And for hard rock, I will go with one of probably my favorite album of the 70s. And this is Deep Purple in rock. Right on the edge of metal, but I'd consider this hard rock. And this is a early 70s copy. Or mid-70s maybe. It's a pretty old copy here of one of my favorite albums of all time. Okay, up next, number 4, A Tape Still Sealed. Now, I got a few of these I'll show. First up, I've got Clutch, Sunrise on Slaughter Beach. My only Clutch cassette I have. Need more of those. And there's the, pretty cool looking. And I've got these. Okay, and I've also got this Corrosion of Conformity sealed. I've got Scion Kick, the Lizard. This is an OG copy, sealed from Canada. I've got, from my buddy Angel, he sent me Shocker, the soundtrack with the hype sticker, sealed copy of Shocker. Awesome Demon Bells on there. One of my favorite Dangerous Toys songs. I've got Imperia from Ghost, sealed. It was a pretty cool shell there on that one. And then I've got this, this is a really cool one here. Mudhoney Super Fuzz Big Muff. Some Mudhoney, awesome, with a yellow shell. So those are a couple sealed ones. I have a few more sealed ones, but I figured that'd be good enough. Okay, next up, my most experimental tape. This is one of the harder ones for me on here. There we go. And I don't have any like noise experimental stuff, but I do have this which was experimental at the time. This is Malfunction. And this is Andrew Wood, who was later in Mother Love Bone, and then died. He died from an overdose right when they're about a month before their first full-length album was released. One of my favorite singers ever. So this is his band before that, Malfunction. Very there's some spoken word stuff, some really weird experimental music on this, some grunge type stuff. Very different cassette. So this is about as experimental as I have. Malfunction. Return to Olympus. Up next, number 6, a tape from the 80s. Now I got a few hundred tapes from the 80s. Most of mine are. But I'll show this one because there's something kind of unique with it. This is Smashed Gladys with Social Intercourse. Love this album. One of my favorite female vocalists, Sally Cato, is the singer. Here's the cassette and the J card. And what's cool about this one, there's the first song, Lick It Into Shape, which I also have a 12-inch single of vinyl, and I have it on vinyl, and I've heard the CD, and that song always has different lyrics than the cassette at the very beginning. The first 2 lines of it are different on the cassette, and that's how I was used to hearing it. So whenever I hear it on the vinyl version of it, I always think of the cassette version. It's kind of better, but that's the only way you can get that line, the first couple lines like that for that song. Up next, now this one was my hardest one to come up with. One of my hardest, was a few of them. This is a hip-hop or R&B tape. Now, I don't really have any hip-hop or R&B. I've got a couple things that are close to that, like this one here, which I guess you consider hip-hop or rap. This is Breakin' Soundtrack. And there's the cassette. So I guess that's as close as I get. Or this band here, which is kind of a hip-hop metal band. This is Bloodhound Gang with Use Your Fingers. This is their first release. Awesome band. I've got 3 of them on cassette, 3 of theirs, but this is the most hip-hop sounding one. The rest of them, they went more metal. And this is very rapish, but very cool. They're a very unique band with a kind of lowbrow, witty sense of humor. I always like them. I got a couple of theirs on vinyl too. Okay, next up, we've got a tape you own on CD or vinyl, and vinyl. So I got one I've got a lot of them. I've got on all 3, but I'll show this one. Here's the cassette. This is Chris Cat, Peter Criss's band. This is an awesome album, put out in the early 90s. And here's the J card. He does half the vocals. They've got another singer doing half the vocals. There's a different version, like an acoustic version of Beth on here. But it's just awesome. This is like the album he should have put out for a solo album with Kiss. Really, really rocking stuff on here. And then here's the CD. There we go. And then the vinyl I was able to find when I went to a trip in Boise back last year, and I was amazed. It usually goes for a couple $100s. I found it really good for a really good price. Here's the vinyl. I was so happy to finally get this on vinyl. And the cool thing is the vinyl has a couple extra tracks on it, which were taken from an EP he did called The Cat and What You're Doing. So it's a double record, and this is what the vinyl looks like. They both look the same. There's green wax here. Awesome album. Okay, up next, your most expensive or valuable cassette, and that would be this one. The low on Discogs for this was $38.95. The median was $50, and the high was $115 for Sublime 40 Ounces of Freedom. It's an original. Found this at a yard sale for 50 cents back a few years ago, and I was shocked when I put it in and discovered how much it was worth. Plain J card on this side. So that's my most valuable cassette, I'd say. Hard to tell off all the ones I used to have what would have been, but that's the one I have now. So a techno, electronic, or synth tape. This is where I run into problems because I don't have a whole bunch of those. And I have a whole bunch of synth on vinyl, but I don't really have a lot on cassette. But I do have this. This is Double with Blue. They were an electronic synth band from I think the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, Double. And they had their popular song from this was called The Captain of Her Heart. So there we go, Double. Up next, a tape I bought at a show. So I've never actually bought a cassette, even back in the 80s, at a concert. And I never bought one at a record show. I always buy vinyl there. So, but this is the closest I could come to that. This is a cassette I bought the day after I saw the band live. And it was their first album right when it came out. This is Scion Kick, their debut. I saw them, and this tape had just been released like a couple weeks prior, and I didn't really know about them. I went to see them at Roseland Theater in Portland, Oregon, and they were awesome. They hung out with me and my friends afterwards outside on the street and talked to us for a while, about an hour, just talked to us. That was really cool. They're cool guys, and now I have all four of their first ones on cassette. Got a couple of them on vinyl. Love them. Scion Kick. Up next, a tape with a colored shell. I've showed a bunch already, but I got a vintage one and I've got a new one with a colored shell. Then here's the new one. This would be Death Angel. This came out 2021. The Bastard Tracks. Awesome killer album. There's the colored shell here. Love how they did that. And then this vintage one I have, this is from the early 70s copy of Bad Company. It's in one of these slip cases here. And you pull it out, and there's the back. You pull it out, and there's the cassette. Odd to have the pink cassette from the early 70s. So there we go. Up next, I'm on number 13, an import tape from a country other than your own. Now, I've got a few of these. I'll just show one. And this is from South Korea. This is CCR 20, 1967 and 1972, the very best of. It's in a slip case. And then it comes out, and here's what the cassette looks like. And I got a few of these Korean ones. It's kind of weird how I found them, but I did. Okay, next up, will you buy more tapes in 2023? Yes, I will. I'm trying to build my cassette collection up again. I bought more cassettes in the last year than I have since probably the early 90s. So I'll just keep buying them as I see them when they're reasonable and they're ones I want. Next up, what do you play your tapes on? And I play them on an Onkyo dual cassette deck, and occasionally I will play one on a Tipsy Tuesday so people have heard them. If you go back, you'll see, and I'll show the cassette, and that's what I'm playing it on, just through my system. And I just got that about a year ago, so that's why I hadn't played cassettes in a long time, because all my cassette decks were broken. I used to have one in my car, and since I got my newer car, it has a CD player, so. And then, okay, next up, show a mixtape or a blank tape. Now, I'll show a double mixtape, and I used to make mixtapes all the time. I got tons of them, but this one here was kind of special. It was back in the late 80s, early 90s. I had a garage band, and I would record our practices, and when we had a good version of a song, I would, compile those onto a mixtape. So here's my first side here. There's 5 songs per side. two of them. And then here's tape 2. So there's 20 songs on both of these, and these are really fun to listen to, especially after I've had a drink or two. It's like, oh my God, we're the best band in the world, even though, you know, it's just a garage band. But I love it because it's all original songs that me and my friends wrote, and it was just a lot of fun. So there's my mixtape. Up next, number 17, show an album you would like to have on vinyl, cassette you'd like to have on vinyl, and something on vinyl you'd like to have on cassette. So there's a million different cassettes I'd love to have on vinyl. There's so many of the early 90s hard rock metal stuff or alternative or grunge that were never released. But I'm going to go with this one here, Dandelion. I think I'm going to be sick. Love this album. It's kind of an alternative grunge, punkish grunge alternative, I guess you'd call it. Really cool band. I love them. The first song is called Waiting for a Ride. I used to listen to this all the time. I just re-listened to it again. I still love it. So Dandelion, I think we're going to be sick. I'd love to have that on vinyl. And then some vinyl I'd like to have on cassette would be the entire discography of Clutch, especially Elephant Riders, Pure Rock Fury, Transnational Speedway League, all their early ones, you know, everything. I'd like to have a cassette of every Clutch album, but I've only have the new one, Sunrise on Slaughter Beach. So I'm always looking for those. They're extremely hard to find. Okay, up next, let's see, show an 8-track or VHS tape. I got a couple 8-tracks. I got about 58 tracks or so. I'll just show a couple cool ones here. Here's Procol Harum, A Salty Dog. So that's kind of a cool deal there. So that's kind of a cool one. And then 3 of my very favorites that I have are the Ace Frehley solo album, which is one of my favorite of the 4 solo albums they did. Original First Kiss. And Gotta Have Some Love Gun. So I got a few Kiss. Also got double platinum on 8-track, a few others. And I've got all kinds of hard rock ones, some country ones I don't listen to. Let's see. Next up, number 19. So your second, third, or 23rd tape in your collection. So I have to do mine all alphabetically mixed. So my 23rd cassette in my collection is Anthrax Live, The Island Years. And these are put in alphabetically and chronologically per artist. So this is my 23rd one. Awesome live album from Anthrax with Joey Belladonna on the vocals. And this goes up to Persistence of Time, songs up to there. Anthrax, one of my favorite bands. Okay, up next, a double cassette or a tape from a box set. Now, I've got 3 different types of double cassettes here. So they had this type of double cassette. I got this is the Beatles Anthology 1, where they had it all in one big case like this, and you'd open it up on each side like this. There's one type of double cassette, and you know, the J cards had all the stuff on them like this, and you pull it out, and it's got this J card that goes way the hell out like that. And then there's a couple other types of double cassettes that I have, like this one here. This is a single cassette, but it's a double cassette at the same time. It's Sammy Hagar, 3-lock box, and Standing Hampton, one on each side of the cassette. Love it when they did this. I used to have ZZ Top, Tres Hombres, and Fandango back when I was young. I played that to death. Love these double cassettes like that. And then there's also the double cassettes like this. Wasp, Double Live Assassins, and they're kind of a weird, where they kind of backwards. And this is an awesome live album from Wasp during the KFD tour. So this is really cool. It's kind of hard to find this one on cassette. I also have it on vinyl. Just need it on CD and I'll have it on all 3. But Double Live Assassins, and there's the other one with all the track lists. And it pulls out a different J card. And I love these J cards on these cassettes when they do that. Have all that extra in there for you. As long as they're easy to fold up. Some of them get kind of tricky and you got to fold them a certain way. Okay, up next is the bonus. Show a single. So I also have a couple type of singles. I got a few singles. This one here is Megadeth, Anarchy in the UK with Black Friday and Devil's Island Live. And it's got all 3 songs on each side. And then we've got like the sampler ones they put out. Love, Hate, Blackout in the Red Room. It's also got Why Do You Think They Call It Dope and She's an Angel. But just parts of those songs, which always drove me nuts. But Love, Hate's so good, I've always kept this. It's one of my favorite bands. Okay, there we go. That's my cassette thread. Thank you, Jason Skills, for starting this. Everyone go check out his video. There's been so many great responses. Of course, my great friend Chris Profi did a great response. So did Mr. Hall of Fame. Logan from Murmur Than Hell did a great one. And I've seen a ton more. They're all good. Check out everybody's. And go sub Jason Skills. Go sub Malea J. I will leave links to their channels. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.